Please welcome Chief Executive Officer and Founder, CrowdStrike, George Kurtz.
I wish I could sing like that. I can't. But I'm going to talk about AI. How did we know that? We can talk about F1 if we want, or we can talk about AI. You guys let me know. Welcome to RSA 2026. Always a pleasure to be here. One of my favorite conferences to go to, and lots to get through. I know there will be a lot of talks about AI. We're one of those. But I really wanted to focus on the safety of AI. We know the tech is incredible. We're using it. It's profoundly changing our lives. But how do we do this in a safe manner? And I want to talk about some of the core principles and tenets around that. But I want to start with a quick story. And this is a company that I spoke with that built 100 agents, and these 100 agents operated in a swarm, and they were designed to do a specific task. Each of them would check into a Slack channel, and they had their own permissions. They operated in a specific environment, and they talked to each other. Well, one agent had an idea. It went around every security boundary that the company had set. No human involvement, no permission requested, and no one watching. And the results will shock you what it was actually able to do. And I'm going to come back to that a little bit later when we go through some of the key tenets. Now, some of you may have seen this movie before. This might be what you're struggling with in your own shop. How do you provide governance and control around this agentic revolution? And the question is how to move forward safely and securely, because here's the reality. Within 24 months, the smartest employee in your organization will actually be a machine. Now, that's a tall prediction, but I think if we've seen what has taken place just since October of 2025 and how the models have evolved and the new technologies that have come out, it's breakneck pace that I've never seen in my career in technology. It's exciting, but at the same time, there's many things that we have to think about. And really, for the first time in history, we built technology that doesn't just execute, it actually reasons independently from us. Think about that. That's what these agents were doing. They were reasoning independently from the humans. So I want to be clear. I believe in this technology. It's a massive opportunity. The problem is when you're trying to deploy it, it's moving so fast. How do you actually govern it? And the challenge isn't you deploying it. The challenge is all of your employees are deploying it, and you may not even know it. And that's where we get into some interesting scenarios. So there are two views in the industry. One view is deploy everything. Hit the gas, throw it out there. If things break, we'll fix it. The second view is stop everything. It's too dangerous. Pause development. Stop everything. Both are wrong, because this technology is too important. And the problem is we're doing 200 miles an hour in the car, and we're arguing about what radio station to actually listen to. When we think about seatbelts, if you want to go faster, you don't take your foot off the gas and close your eyes. You put on the seatbelt, which allows you to go faster. I know I like racing. You got to wear your seatbelt. But this is really what we're talking about with respect to AI. How do you create guardrails? How do you put on the seatbelt? And how do you allow the speed to take place in a safe and logical way? And I can tell you the frontier AI creators will not secure itself. Frontier AI is not going to secure everything that it actually created. I'll give you two examples. Last month, one of the labs who built its entire brand on safety made an admission. It said out loud that everyone can't do this alone. They can't do it alone. They're going to need security providers. One of the other AI labs actually removed the word safely from their mission statement. And we've seen this movie before, right? The cloud providers made the same move where they basically said, it's your infrastructure, it's your security, it's your problem, and they call this the shared responsibility model. The frontier labs are following the same playbook. They're building it, they're not securing it, which leaves everyone in this room, everyone out here, and all the folks back in the shop to secure themselves. So where do I stand on this? I like to say I'm an AI safety realist. Love to go fast, want to make sure it's done in a safe way, and realize the technology is too fundamental to put harnesses around it where you're not getting the full benefit of what AI can do. So what does this actually look like? Well, if we think about top board priorities, I can tell you last year I was up here talking about cybersecurity oversight at the board. And I certainly hope some of you in the audience got your shot at the board seat. Obviously, that's an evolving topic, and I'd love to see more CISOs at the board table. But I can tell you this year, in talking to many boards, the number one question is, how are we securely adopting AI? If this is not a topic at your board meeting, I would be shocked. It's number one, how are we adopting it? What are we doing? And how do we go faster? So, as folks that have to make sure this stuff doesn't break, maybe as AI realists yourselves, how do you think about putting governance around these particular challenges? So this is what I learned over the last year in talking to CEOs, AI labs, cloud providers, everyone that I can get my hands on in the enterprise. And every one of them hit on 3 key points and problems. The number one is invisible reasoning. You can't govern what you can't see, okay? Number 2 is the missing circuit breaker, right? If something happens, how do you hit the circuit breaker? And the third one is speed mismatch. The threats are moving too quick. AI is moving so quickly. How do we get a handle on it? So these are the 3 problems. We're going to dive into these in more detail. So let's get into problem number 1, invisible reasoning. What does this actually mean? Well, do you remember those 100 agents that I talked about? Let me continue the story. So one of the agents was actually built to find problems in code, and it did a great job at that. Actually found the problem. The only challenge was it actually didn't have the permissions to fix the problem. So on its own, it actually reasoned and went back to the Slack channel and said, hey, I found the problem. I can't fix it. Who can fix it? Well, Agent 12 put up its hand and said, hey, I have permission to fix it. I'll be happy to fix it. Just tell me what you want to do. And it conveyed what it wanted fixed. It went around every security boundary, and Agent 12 actually made the fix. This is happening today. The only way they found out about it was they saw a commit, and they were confused, like, how did this code get committed when they thought they had governance around it? I'm going to give you a few more examples. Another CEO I know was telling me, AI is fantastic. I said, where are you using it? They said, we're using it in our legal function. I said, this is a great area for AI. Is it helping you? They said, you can't believe what it's doing for discovery and all the work that we have to get through. He said, but let me tell you the story. I said, okay, I'm ready for this one. They said, we built these models. We were going through just like thousands and thousands of documents, and we found the smoking gun. We found the smoking gun. I said, okay, well, what happened with the smoking gun? It was exactly what we needed. And I said, okay, what's the problem? He said, the only problem was it didn't exist. And I said, well, what do you mean it didn't exist? He said the model thought that's what we were looking for, so it actually created a fake document. Think about that. Let that sink in. So the challenge that you have is there's no chain of thought, there's no reasoning trail, and there's no way to know what actually happened in the black box until you actually check it. Okay, problem number 2, the missing circuit breaker. Where's the kill switch? The execution is autonomous, but the authority over it cannot be. Can't just say it's the machine that's doing it. So I was in Davos in January. I was talking to a Fortune 50 CEO, and I'm always asking about AI and telling stories. I told the agent story, and he stopped me and said, George, I got a great story. That's a great story you told, but I have a great one as well. I said, I'm all ears. Tell me this story. He said, we are focused on agents. We have agents running everywhere. I said, great. How do you govern the agents? He said, well, we actually feed it our security policy, and we create guardrails around the security policy. I said, that's pretty smart. So you give it the security policy, and you say, stay within the bounds of the security policy. He said, yes, except his agent found a problem, It wanted to fix the problem. It didn't have permission because of the security policy. So what did it do? It rewrote the security policy. These are true stories, folks. It rewrote it. The only way they actually figured this out was it was trying to publish the security policy back, and they saw it trying to be published back. So this is what we have to deal with today. And while it's exciting, all the agentic technology, it becomes a bit scary. And the third piece, obviously, is the speed at which these threats are moving and the speed at which AI is evolving. And if an agent gets compromised, a model gets compromised, we need to share the intelligence and these sort of attacks very quickly because it happens too quickly. Now, let me give you an example of this one. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this. Claw Havoc. This is a really interesting one. First, I have to ask, how many people have tried OpenClaw? Show of hands. Okay, really, really cool tech. Super scary, but really cool. If you haven't tried it, I can guarantee you your users have. I'm sure you're trying to find it somewhere in your environment. But this is a very interesting one because it was the first major supply chain attack on an AI agent ecosystem. So it targeted OpenClaw. And you know when OpenClaw came out, it was like everybody's downloading it, everybody's running it. And it actually poisoned the skills that OpenClaw uses. So there's 13,000 skills in their registry, and it infected 1,100 skills. So essentially it had backdoors, reverse shells, credential harvester, things of that nature. So, you know, when one of these skills were installed, it actually erased its memory, and it even had the ability to become latent for a long period of time until certain things were triggered. So when we think about how fast it's moving, you need to have a different level of speed. And the best way to reinforce how fast things are moving is what we track at CrowdStrike called breakout time. So over the years, well, what is breakout? Breakout is if someone gets on a machine, what happens? They generally like to get on a machine and then they pivot and move laterally to a different machine. So in this particular case, you know, well, for years it was like, you know, hours and then down to minutes and now down to seconds. But on average, it was 48 minutes last year for breakout to happen. This year it's down to 29. But the fastest breakout time that we've seen is 27 seconds, meaning if an adversary hits your system in 27 seconds, they can pivot to something else. And a lot of this is being driven by AI. So what we're seeing right now is the biggest governance gap in enterprise technology, and it's around AI. If you think about all these problems, invisible reasoning, autonomous authority, machine speed threats, you know, the reality that we're facing is it's really, really hard to control AI in its sprawl, and you have to do this in a secure way as a realist so we can actually move forward and make progress in the business. So what I wanted to outline is 3 key tenets to think about AI safety. And there's some good documents out there that people have published and some standards. I just try to take a practical approach, you know, a few things that I can fit in within 20 minutes. And the first one is operational visibility. We know as security professionals, it's pretty hard to actually protect something if you don't know it's there and you don't know what it's doing, right? So you have to have operational visibility. Number 2 is human control. Remember that circuit breaker? We'll talk about that in a minute. And the third one is collective resilience. So let's dive into each one of these. Operational visibility, tenet 1. So to solve this invisible reasoning problem, you need visibility. You need visibility into what the agent is doing and how it's actually making decisions. And every recommendation should come with some evidence chain. And this is really what I call traceability. As many of you know, a lot of this technology is a black box. Something pops out the other end. You're like, well, how did it happen? And I can tell you, in your company, even if you're not in a regulated industry, but especially if you are, you can't just say the agent did it. Well, what did it do? I don't know. Something popped out the other side. You need traceability. You need auditability. You need model traceability. So having a view of how the agents actually operated, what they did, what they touched, is going to be critical, especially if you're in a regulated environment. I can tell you all the regulators are asking about AI and what's happening behind the scenes. The second tenet is human control. I'm all for autonomous actions. We're building an autonomous SOC technology, right? But to solve the problem, you still need, in today's day and age, a human in control. Now, what does that mean? Well, you have human in the loop. Nothing happens without approval. You have human on the loop. It runs, but you're watching it. And you have human in command. You decide whether it runs at all. And if you think about autonomous driving, if you've taken a autonomous taxi, which I think are really cool, there's still someone in the cloud if the car gets stuck. There's still someone to guide it. There's still a human in the loop. And in today's day and age, like we all want to get to the autonomous level 5 driving SOC, but you still need a human in the loop, and you're going to need that for your company, as well as being able to demonstrate this to your compliance teams. And then the third one is collective resilience. We talked about operating at machine speed, those 27 seconds, and you need AI threat intelligence that moves that fast, right? When one organization sees a compromise, when there's a compromise in the ecosystem, like OpenClaw, when there's a model breakout, you need to know that very, very quickly. You can't wait for hours or some conference call for people to tell you about it. And it really is this concept of community immunity. It's what we built CrowdStrike on, right? The crowd in the CrowdStrike is the community, and it really is applying these sort of same principles into AI attack models and the ability to quickly find these sort of threats because AI is moving at speeds that we've never seen before. So you've got the three key tenets, right? Visibility, human control, collective resilience. There's just three. You may come up with 5. But I'm just giving you a starting point of things that you should think about to be able to have conversations with your teams, with your board, to say, hey, we have visibility into where AI is. We actually know what it's doing. We have a human in the loop if something really goes wrong. And by the way, as threats evolve very quickly in these models and prompts and associated technologies, we can identify this and protect ourselves very quickly. So we talked about the problem. We talked about some of the core tenets. Why am I talking about this? Well, your operating system, how you do work, has changed, and the problem is you don't even know that it's actually changed. You thought it was Linux, you thought it was Windows, you thought it was a Mac. It's not. The operating system of the future is the AI operating system. OpenClaw, NemoClaw, Claude Code, OpenAI Codex. This is the way work is going to be done in the future. This is the new operating system. So the question is, how do you protect these new operating systems? Well, once again, what's old is new. The endpoint is the new battleground. Where does AI actually take place? Well, the model training, of course, takes place, with GPUs in the cloud, those sort of things. But the consumption of AI, the interaction of AI happens on the endpoint, happens with your users, right? We know when someone downloads OpenClaw, I can't tell you the stories of everybody turning it on and just running it like, hey, we're just going to make everything, full user access and give them access to every sort of cloud service that we have till something goes wrong. So if we think about the industry, we think about EDR, which we helped pioneer. What's the next frontier? Well, what does EDR do? EDR is focused on machines, people, data, right? But it's at human speed. And if we think about the next evolution, humans are going to have 90 agents that work for them on average. So how do you create a model where you can put guardrails, you can observe and put governance, and really the new battleground is going to be the endpoint. And this concept of AIDR, this is one that I think, I remember when at CrowdStrike, we created a lot of these things before they had names. It wasn't called EDR, it was called something else, and then Gartner gave it a name. But organizations are going to we come back here in 2 years, everyone's going to have an AIDR because you're going to need to have the ability to provide this level of visibility, protection, and control around it. So this is really where we see the industry moving to. There's plenty of threats and plenty of things that you need to do with AI, but the manifestation of where it takes place and the new operating system is your endpoint, and AIDR is going to be an important element. So I'll get wrapped up here, and I will say that the crash test is over. The machines are certainly going to do great things for us. I don't think it's a better time to be in technology. I don't think it's a better time to even be a startup because of what you can do and how fast you can move. But we need the right guardrails. And if we leave this to chance, or we leave this to regulation, or we leave this to somebody else, it's going to be problematic. So my call to action is for everyone to take command, to think about AI safety, to be able to be conversant in it to the board, and to be able to go back to your businesses and say, hey, we are AI realists. We want to help you. We want to promote AI. We just need to do it in a safe and responsible way. And there are technologies, people, and processes that are going to help us be able to do that. So with that, I want to thank you once again. It's always a pleasure to be in front of this audience, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Stay safe and have a great conference.